All right, we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, AFWO family, and whoever else is watching this live stream. On a little bit of a different platform. Was having some technical difficulties earlier, but you know what? We make it do what it do. Because today is about positive vibes only, okay? And that means that no matter what happens today, any day, we're gonna be Gucci. We're gonna be great. So the first thing I need to say is that Air Force Women Outreach at gmail.com is the email that you need to go to if you need any help, any type of situations that you want to post anonymously or just have questions for us, then by all means reach out to us. Additionally, you have the Air Force Women Outreach group. And so if you search at the top of Facebook, you type in Air Force Women Outreach, and that's available for our active duty, retired veterans, dependent spouses, all that fun stuff. You go to the top of the page, you go to membership, you see the admin and the moderators, and from there you are able to reach out to us. So without further ado, we got a special guest today. This is not his first time, okay? And most of y'all probably done seen him in either some sort of pajama fit holding a whiteboard or just, a whiteboard wisdom creator, catalyst of professional development. He is everywhere in these streets, these Facebook streets. So Lynwood Gail is on again, second time. We appreciate it. How you doing?
It's awesome to be back. When you reached out, I think my response to you was like, hey, you ready to go again? And my response was like 3 words, I'm down, right?
Yep.
So Here we are, right? Now I know we had some technical difficulties, but I think that kind of leads us right into exactly what we're going to talk about today, man. Just positive vibes. Like you told yourself, like you sitting there getting frustrated. You like, Drea, deep breaths, little woosome moments, man. We're going to get this stuff figured out. We're going to reach out to Zoom and figure out why they didn't contact you with these changes that they made. But no, I could not be more excited to be back and to be speaking to the just phenomenal women outreach community again. Look, I'm excited. I know we shooting from the hip on this one, man. So look, let's get after it.
Hey, YOLO, anything goes. I mean, and what ultimately made me reach out to you is that when you have a podcast, and on that podcast, you were talking about raising your voice. You were talking about the way we combat, negativity, whether it be in social media, whether it be in person or whatever. And so for those who haven't listened or haven't heard about it, it basically you were just saying like, look, like you see something, if you see something that is happening that isn't good, then are you sitting there watching or are you engaging? Are you engaging to try to basically push the negativity down and raise the positivity up? And nobody's saying be the hero. Nobody's saying that, okay? We just saying that, we get out what we put in. Get out what we put in. And so, you don't have to put your cape on for everything. But sometimes do you think people need aha moments? Sometimes people need that skirt. Hold on. Okay. You really got a lot of heat and aggression coming from you. And maybe you just need to bring it down a notch.
And that's just it, and look, make no mistake about it. This is not a Air Force thing. This is not a a man, a woman thing. Like this is a societal thing. Like negativity is what sells. Negativity is what draws us in. And I'm a firm believer. When you just look at just social media, let's just take the chunk of social media, and let's be honest. If you scroll through your feed, no matter what platform you're using, 80% of the stuff you're going to see is probably going to be geared towards the negative, right? In some way, shape, or form. I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that there are not more negative people in this world than there are positive ones. Mm-hmm. The thing is negativity seems to be really loud. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing with the podcast was, look, all you positive folks out there, and I'm not talking about blind positivity, right? I'm not talking about, positivity with ignorance. I'm just talking about the folks that want to look at the positive side of things, that want to pull the positive side, that see opportunities to improve. Those are the folks that I need to raise their voice. Those are the folks that I need to step in from time to time. And when they see a friend getting beat up on social media, or they see somebody like, that's that's comment is being taken out of context, don't just blindly just scroll by and be like, ooh, sucks to be them. Nah, interject and be like, man, that's not what this person meant, or that's not how this should be interpreted. Like, it's time that the positive folks out there that are trying to impact positive change, it's time we start raising our voices a little bit more.
Right. And why do you think, I mean, there has to be a little bit of skepticism, you know, like it's like you doing what's in your comfort zone, right? So that means you got to get a little bit out of your comfort zone to be able to really, quote unquote, raise your voice. Because, you know, granted, being positive means that there's going to be some people that don't like you being so positive. And so more negativity coming in your way, right? But it's what it is, right?
And that, you know, one of the things, so we've thrown the word toxic around almost to a point where it's losing its emphasis, right? You know, when we say or do something so much, it starts losing its emphasis. Toxic to me is one of those words. Are there toxic leaders? Absolutely. Are there, you know, toxic relationships? Absolutely. But anything that we personally don't like, we want to throw that moniker of toxic on. And what blew my mind the other day was I came across something and it was like, hey, toxic positivity. And I'm like, what? Like, and I guess in a way I understand where that's coming from, because yeah, if I'm being completely honest, you can be too positive, but then I fight back and I'm like, can you really? Like, when I think of toxic, I think of something that is intentionally supposed to poison or degrade. Most people that are overly positive aren't trying to do that.
Right.
Their positivity may not be right in that situation, right? Sometimes when people come to us with certain things, they just need us to shut up and listen. Like, I don't want to hear that everything's sunshine and rainbows all the time, but I don't think we should label it as toxic.
No.
It's that person's makeup.
Yeah.
Right. So let's look at it like maybe positivity is not the right word for some people. Like, everybody has heard the old saying, you know, if you look at a glass that's half full, what do you see? You know, are you an optimist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a pessimist? Well, what if I don't really want you to be either? What if I want you to be a realist?
Right.
What if I want you to be an opportunist? What if I want you to look at that glass and say, yeah, it's half full and half empty, but the cool thing is I can either fill it up more, or I can drink the damn thing and not be thirsty.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe people need to start focusing a little bit more on the possibilities of things instead of, oh, that's half empty. That sucks. Yeah. Why can't it be full? Or, hey, that's half, you know, that's half full. Everything's great. Well, no, if not, everything's not great, because obviously it could be all the way full. Right. So maybe it's the realist, maybe it's the possibility people, maybe it's the folks that look at this as an opportunity to, one, drink the water, or two, fill the damn glass up more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I looked up the word toxic, and toxic by definition, it says, well, first it's poisonous. Oof.
Right.
And very harmful or unpleasant in a persuasive or insidious way. Like, you're making it seem like that person is, I don't know, like the plague.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's what I'm saying. I think we're losing the definition of what toxic. Now, think about that definition, you know, insidious, poisonous. Are there relationships that you have seen that are toxic? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, are there leaders that you have seen that are toxic, that fit that? Absolutely. Right. But now tie that word, the insidious and the, you know, the poisonous and all that, tie that to positivity, and think about somebody coming at you with a positive mindset, even though it may not be right for the situation, even though it may not be appropriate for the situation. Do you think in their mind, they're coming at you like, I want to be insidious today. Yeah. Let me be overly positive.
Yeah.
Like nobody thinks that way.
No way. So,
yes.
So it's just, it's almost like we might need to do some reflection and monitor our words, because we may not just understand the definition of what they mean, but we're using it so much because we're hearing it so much. And, you know, I don't know if you've ever encountered this. I know for me, it's like, I've heard people use words and I'm like, do you even know what that means when you say that? And therefore, you know, not understanding why people kind of give you that second look or that kind of head tilt, like, you know what I mean? So it just, it all starts with it all starts with the person individually. Like it all starts with reflection of yourself, self-awareness, And so we're not just saying social media can be, not just on social media, but even in areas of confrontation, even in works, even in your personal life, even in your relationships, of just a matter of like, it's okay to not accept, like it's okay to not be someone that accepts like that type of energy from other people. Okay. Versus this is just the way this person is. You don't have to take that. Like you don't have to, but granted, there are some situations where like that's the way such and such is. But how about trying to reframe somebody's way of mind or behavior? How about that? You know what I'm saying? And then being like, and sometimes I may flip it back on them. Well, what would you do? And they kind of just like, okay, well, I'm not sure. Well, then let's think about this. Let's talk about this. Healthy discussion, unpacking, feeling back to I am. But I do think that it is something that if we could, maybe work on just being a little bit, like even day to day, a little bit more engaging of those situations that you feel are bringing that bad energy, and just saying like, you know what, you're not going to do this today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I may intervene, or I may try to frame X person's change way of mind because maybe nobody has brought it to their attention that that's something that they need to work on. Right.
I love the fact how you talked about reframing. I came across a video, and it was probably, this video is like 10 years old. And I came across it, maybe a couple of weeks ago. And in it, the guy was explaining how people in your lives, whether or not they're coworkers, friends, family, or anything, will like, they'll say some slick stuff, right? Some, whether or not it's negative, whether or not it's anything. And he says, the way you counter that is you got to open their eyes to what they're saying. Right. So you're at work, right? You're trying to do something, and then somebody will come at you like really passive aggressively in a negative way. And he said, your response should always start with the same two words. That's interesting. And then you follow it up with, why would you say that to me? Right. Or that's interesting. Why would you ask me that? The response should always start. No, you're good. And it's funny how just reframing that, like, let's say somebody at work comes at you and, you're trying to do something, and whether or not it's, professional development, or you're trying to train your folks, and then somebody will walk in that's usually has that kind of negative undertone to them that, these type of people, like you could literally hand them a gold brick and they'd complain that it's too heavy, right? There's going to be people that find things to complain about everything, right? And then they'll say some slick, passive aggressive stuff. Instead of getting mad and defensive, you turn it around and just say, man, you know what? That's interesting. Why would you say that? And then all of a sudden they're stuck. They're
thrown off. Yep.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden
they're stuck. Be in question.
Yeah, and they're like, and then honestly, the initial thought was, why the hell would I say that? Right? And it's just it's reframing the conversation, because I do believe also that there's a lot of people that, because they have lived in a society that profits off of their self-doubt, right? That profits off of them feeling like they're not good enough. They take that feeling that social media, that commercials, that the world has told them that they are not good enough, and they project it on other people. And I don't think they do it knowingly, right? Sometimes they need to be woken up to it. And the best way, and when I watched this video, I was just like, man, that is a really tactful, professional way to open up somebody's eyes to what they could be doing.
True story. Yep. Bottom line, just like be open to trying to reframe people's minds. Because I'm telling you, I think some people may be in that autopilot of saying things over and over to where they're not used to being challenged on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So transition to another point. I also saw something that you posted in the Catalyst about saying no, and that sparked some conversation. And let me make sure I get the exact quote right. Give me a minute. Let me see. It was one of your whiteboard posts.
It was the one with the sticky note.
Was it the sticky note? Okay.
It's a sticky note. Look, you know I post constantly, so you might have to drill down for that one.
Oh yeah, it just says before. So you start out saying you believe people can sometimes say no too quickly. Before you say no to that next opportunity, ask yourself what possibilities could you be turning down or missing out on. And then the bottom line is think about these things before jumping straight to no. And then I found that sparked some conversation about that. Why do you think that was something that people, quote unquote, wanted to challenge?
So this to me is a perfect example of what I was getting after in my podcast, right? When I talk about raising our voices to negativity, the comments to that post were exactly what I was not talking about. I think it is extremely healthy to challenge dialogue, to challenge thinking. You just don't got to be nasty. Like the people. So it was actually a couple former chiefs, actually one current chief and one former chief that responded back to that. And we're like, well, hold on now, right? We get so caught up in saying yes to everything that we need to learn to say no. And we need to learn to say that. And that is extremely healthy dialogue. And I love that. Why it was challenged is because if you look at our culture, we don't question, like there's a push right now to teach people how to say no. And it's a very good push because let's be honest, we say yes to a lot of things and then we end up burning the candle at both ends. And then we end up burning ourselves out, and we're not good for ourselves. We're not good for our family. We're not good for anything. But as always, when we start, the pendulum swings, it usually swings too far one way or another. So I want to give a different perspective and say, hey, I want you to be comfortable saying no. I want you to learn how to say no for your own mental well-being, but I also want you to take a step back and don't develop a habit of automatically just saying no every single time, because you could be missing out on opportunities.
That's true. And I think that it's very subjective and it's very situation based. Yeah. But I guess for me, I felt like I knew what exact place some people would go to saying that. You know what I mean? And it's not bad. It's just saying it like before you say no, and then it's kind of that self-reflection, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I know for me personally, I struggle with that. I struggle with saying no. And then when I say yes, it's automatically the anxiety builds because I'm already processing all that, what yes requires. Yes. Or even no, what no requires. It's either yes with anxiety, no with guilt, you know what I'm saying? Versus no just being because I cannot do it right now. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the energy. I have this much things I've said yes to already that I just can't fit. Think of it as Jenga, that where you stack it up and you try to put it in that last hole and that whole thing just falls apart. You know what I mean? So it's how can we get over that? How can we make it feel good to do that?
And again, it's the theme of everything is kind of self-reflection, right? The answer is going to be different for everybody. All I wanted to do with that post was provide a different perspective. And the catalyst, if you will, pun intended, of that post came from talking with one of my senior NCOs. And he was just like, look, I've gotten so accustomed to, it took me so long to learn how to say no. And I've gotten so accustomed to saying no that I find myself saying no all the time without thinking, oh, could I actually do this? Mm-hmm. Could this be something that I take on that would be a great opportunity for me? So I wanted to give people the different, there's two sides to every story. I wanted to give people that side that we don't seem to be talking about a lot. The challenge came, I think, in a very constructive and productive way to where dialogue starts. Those are, if you disagree with what somebody posts, if you have a difference of opinion, if you have a different thought process or perspective, that should be encouraged to be shared, but it has to be done the right way, right? Just to come out and just to make a comment, this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, that's not helping anybody, right? like if you think it's stupid, cool, tell me it's stupid, but then tell me why. Share your perspective with me. That's the negativity that I think we need to drown out. Is just the The people that honestly just go out there, you know, they're called trolls or whatever the hell you want to call them, but the people that go out there just to start conflict, it serves no purpose other than to start conflict. And that there's no dialogue there. There's no growth there. There's no learning there. There's no open-mindedness there. And that's what I think we have to get away from. You know, you want to talk about social media. Social media, we should be using social media for social change, period. No matter how you define what social change is for you, that's what social media should be for, because social media is a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blessing because look at what you're doing. You have an opportunity now through this platform to reach thousands and thousands and thousands of people. But you also have the curse of thousands and thousands and thousands of people can sit behind that keyboard and jam off of whatever the hell they want to.
Exposing myself to that basically being judged.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so
Facts.
yep. And so it can you know, but then it ultimately means it's just having the courage to be vulnerable, right? To be vulnerable, be like, you know what, look, I'm gonna put myself out there. You know, if it means getting, you know, out of the thousands of people that watch, the 1 or 5 people that ultimately find this helpful, right? And so, you know, it's gonna take a lot to you know, it's a culture, like I told you before, it's a societal thing. And so, you know, granted, we're a small piece to contribute that, but think about if it was 10 people doing this, 30 people doing this, like 50 people, you could ultimately shift the mindset. But, you know, obviously everything has to start small.
And that's just it, you know, and I think we talked about a little bit prior to getting online today during our test. You know, you were doing phenomenal things, right? And there's going to come a time when somebody asks you like, oh man, you're doing great. How come you haven't blown up yet? How come you haven't this? And then your response should be, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like we talked about before, right? That's interesting.
Yeah.
How come you haven't shared the message?
Right. Right.
Like, how come you're not liking, you know, the positive things that we're doing? Because when something negative gets posted to the page, I see you liking, commenting, sharing, doing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
How come you're not?
Yeah.
You know, I want to get back to the Kerr. I'm gonna ask you a question, right? We're gonna flip roles.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So you talked about how it takes courage to get out here and do this, and I 100% agree with you. It does take courage and vulnerability because you are putting yourself out there to be judged. Have you found that you are sharing that courage with others? Are there others that you know, whether or not they're in your inner circle or whether or not you see on the platform, that are picking up that courage and see you do it and they're like, man, this is awesome. I can start now. Maybe I can raise my voice too. Have you started to see that yet?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is in bits and pieces. Like it'll be messages of it, like I see you, I see you around. Like I get a little bit of it, I get little pieces of it. And so you know, for me, it's just, you know, I try to be humble and not acknowledge like, hey, that's great, you know what I'm saying? Or hey, like it's good stuff you're doing out there. It also is helping me make connections with other people that share similar type of energies or wanting to make bigger change and all that. And so I do think it's doing what it's supposed to do. But that's for me to define what level of success that means. You know, what it is can be considered successful. Is there more work to do? Is it more of that? But I got my quote unquote courage from somebody else doing this exact same thing.
Exactly. And I think as you continue down this path, right, and you continue to keep putting yourself out there and helping people share their stories, that's impacting so much what you're doing. And I know you don't intend to do this, but it is honestly giving permission for other people to embrace that courage as well. And I think that's kind of one of the underlying things of, you know, specifically with what you're doing is you're now giving permission to people that didn't feel like they could do it before. And I know that's not your intent, right? You're like, who am I to give somebody permission? No,
well, yeah.
But you're doing it in a way that it's only going to benefit those that take on that moniker and are like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I like this. This is good. Maybe I can now speak up and know that I have at least one person I can lean on when sharing my story.
True story. That's a good point because, you know, that is the that's like the ultimate definition of giving good energy out, putting good energy out, and other people receiving that good energy and feeling like that, you know what, I can take that next step. I can be courageous. I can go to mental health. I can go do this. I can go do that. And that's, pretty much the intent, or even of this conversation today, is like there are so many different aspects that, being, having behaviors and thoughts and actions that ultimately can breed good things for you, but your focus has to be there.
Yes.
Versus we can pull the bad out of every single situation you're dealing with. Like you said, today it was like the technology was not operating. And so, I was almost going to that place. And then you was like, no, don't go to that place, because, it's easy to sit here and go down in that place and be like, you know what, this is terrible. I was not ready for this. I was not prepared. But, we got to that solution and now we're here. So small as it may be, that means, what if I look at something else that way? What if I look at my current situation or whatever current situation and, think about it, approach it to where I'm like, you know what, like I can look at all the bad things that are happening to me, or I can look at all the bad things that are not happening to me, or I can look at the good things that are happening to me.
Yep. You are going to see the world in the lens that you look at it through.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example. Most of the walls in my house are this really horrible tan, but I'm lazy, so I don't feel like repainting them.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
My daughter has these glasses that are red, right? They got red tint to them. So
Right.
when I put those glasses on, guess what color walls I see? Red.
Red. Yeah.
So it's the same thing. If you go into the world with a negative mindset or a negative lens, if you look hard enough for stuff, you're going to find it, even when it's not there. The same can be on the positive side. And again, what I don't want people to do is put on their positivity lenses and think everything's sunshine and rainbows. No, what I want them to do is put on their positivity lenses, see something that probably isn't right, isn't correct, isn't what it could be, and then look at the possibilities. Then look at the possibilities through that positivity lens. Like, you know what? This isn't where it needs to be, but we can damn sure get it there. Right? This isn't where it needs to be, but you know what? I have a power that I can at least do my part to get it where it needs to be. The Air Force is a perfect example. Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, I need nobody to sit on this Zoom call or to chime in or to leave a message that the Air Force is perfect. We all know it ain't, right? We are nowhere near perfect, but that doesn't mean we can't keep improving. What is sitting around bitching, griping, complaining, and constantly talking about how non-perfect the Air Force is? What is that doing?
Yeah.
It's doing nothing. How about we start sitting around and looking at the possibilities?
Yeah.
How can we improve it? How can we take it to move forward? How can we get rid of the mental health stigma? How can we make sure that people are reaching out and asking for help? How can we keep doing these things?
Yeah.
Look at it from a positivity lens and see the possibilities.
Right. And not to mention, we can acknowledge, we already acknowledge that we know that there's a problem. Yes. So that's the first thing, that's the first thing. We don't need to dwell on that. Okay. Now we need to go to, the solution piece of it and create to where, how can we get that problem solved? Like, how can we create the picture to where it's not something that is looked at as so bad, and it may take we don't know what that looks like, honestly. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what tools it's going to take, but it's literally just like, we're just going to try. We're just going to try, and we're going to have these conversations, and we're just going to see, what kind of responses we get. You know what I mean? And even if it's, for me, even if it's bad, like, at least it's something. But if it's bad, what can make it good? Or if it's bad, how can we get better? Like, that's all I'm asking. Not leaving it one-sided.
Yes. And I'm gonna I'll tell you right now, what doesn't make it better?
What?
Focusing on how bad it is.
Well, yeah.
Right. We're not taking any steps towards progress at that point. Right. And I think the one thing, so here's another question for you. So I'm gonna put my interview hat on. We're talking about it. This is all about positive vibes, right? We're talking about that. How do you handle the negative people in your life? Because everybody knows them. How do you handle those individuals, whether or not they're friends, family, coworkers, whatever? How do you handle those people in your life?
I definitely keep them at a you know, and you know what, it's harder for me because I'm sort of a kumbaya type of person. I'm also an empath. So, you know, for me, it's just like, we don't need to be angry. We just need to, you know, we just need to meditate and be calm and, you know, take a deep breath. I'm just, I'm in that stage of my life. Okay. So, so, you know, I think that, you know, I guess the first thing is try to understand what makes them that way, you know, because for me, it's like, maybe it's the way they grew up. Maybe it's, you know, the people that they're around and what, how much of that am I going to be able to absorb into my spirit?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, sometimes you tolerate people for the sake of that you don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings or you don't want to disappoint them or cut them off or whatever. Family, especially family, right?
Yep.
But ultimately, protecting your spirit or your energy has to be the most important, at least in my mind. So that means that like if this person is not contributing in that type where I can grow or I can or it is getting somewhere, like change is happening, then you know I can't really associate with that. So you know, it could be as quote unquote extreme as no conversation, limited conversation. You know, maybe a hey, checking on you here and there, but I control the level of engagement that I do with that person versus before it was guilt that was driving me to keep that relationship intact. And so I would be miserable. I would be miserable in the relationship or in the engagement versus the person who's just being themselves.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like I'd be exhausted after that. I'd be like, what did I gain? What did I get? Like I feel worse than I did before. And then after a while, it was like, this person is gonna always be this way, or even if I bring it to their attention, they're still going to behave that way. And I'm nobody special. You do not have to quote unquote reverse your, you know, whatever behaviors and habits for me. But but for my own peace, you know, I'm not going to associate with that. I'm not. And it's still hard to this day
Yep.
because it ultimately means severing relationships with people that you know for a while. You know what I mean? Which means that okay, now it's history. You can't just wake up one day and say, you know what, that person, I've completely erased them from my memory. So it does it's an emotional process. It's an emotional process, but ultimately I think that it's given me the peace that I need. So
Yeah. That's spot on. That's kind of almost the same exact way I view it. Right. I've learned to love people from a distance. And it's going to be, that answer is going to be different for everybody. It really boils down to where my mental well-being and where my inner peace, where I can handle it.
yeah.
I'm here to support. I'm here to encourage. I'm here to help. I'm here to do whatever I need to do for other people. But that doesn't mean that I'm also your dumping ground.
Yeah.
I'm not your, you know, I'm not somebody like your decisions. I wasn't made to bear the weight on my shoulders.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where, and again, it's going to be different for everybody, but
Sure.
there are people that I have in my life that I love to death, but I'm sorry, I love from a distance because I can't. Like if you call in desperate dire need, I'm gonna be there.
Yep.
But the interaction piece has got to, I've got to pull back a little bit because you're messing with my inner peace. And when you mess with my inner peace, you're messing with my wife's, you're messing with my kids, you're messing with all this other stuff. Yeah. Yep. Spot on.
So I mean, and it's on the flip side of just, you know, I know that there are some people with relationships that it's takes courage to take those steps. And so that's why you said it's different for every person, because we might be willing to sacrifice that emotion or that space or that peace, or maybe that is your, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But for me personally, it's so important that it's not the number of people that are around me, but what type of people that are around me, like the quality of that. Like I remember, in grade school and growing up, you just, the number of friends you had was important. You knew everybody from this person to that grade. And then you got older and then you were like, man, people are mean. And then you became a grown up and it was like, I don't know if I can sustain this amount of relationships and try to function in my life at the same time. And then it was like, you know what? Sometimes I just need to not feel drained from other people. And so I'm going to focus on what type of people, like-minded people that I want to be around. Because ultimately that means they understand what I'm dealing with. And that means that they don't bring the same energy that, and maybe there's, it's varieties for other people, but that's a great question because I definitely, man, I've struggled with that for years. Just being able to ultimately just say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. And I told you I'm a kumbaya person, so I'm always trying to go fix it. I'm always trying to bridge the relationship and say, hey, you know what, we can work on this. 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 And then it just would not, you end up with egg on your face every single time.
And what happens when we find ourselves doing that? So there's a couple good points that I want to kind of expand on a little bit. The first one being, you talked about your circle, right? And as we were younger, our circle was huge. And then we got a little older and that circle gets a little smaller. And now social media, people have thousands and hundreds of thousands of friends. They ain't real friends. Let's just be real, right? But I think your circle gets a little bit smaller. And just as having negative people around you impacts you, man, if you can surround yourself with positive people, those champions, those people that encourage you, those people, your whole life can change just by having somebody that's in your corner, right? Just by having somebody that's willing to champion you and push you forward and just constantly keep bringing that good energy and positive vibes into your life. They're not telling you everything's perfect. What they're telling you is you are capable. What they're telling you of is I got your back. What they're telling you is I support you, right? I don't need you to tell me I'm perfect and great because I know you're lying to my damn face.
Yep, exactly. I know better than that.
Yeah, but what I want you to do is say, hey, man, you're struggling right now, but it's okay. We are going to get through this together. And just to bring you that like really good energy, man, surrounding yourself with people like that, the whole positive vibes only type thing, those are good people to have in your corner.
Yep. With differences of opinion. And perspective and everything that can make you better. But I have a question for you. So, when you find yourself, because look, even me in kumbaya, I find myself not kumbaya, right? Like there's points where, it's eating me. Like I just want to go there. I just want to stay in this petty place or this how do you pull yourself out of that stuff? Like I just, especially being like, you're not always gonna have people around you to be like, you know what, Lynwood, cut it out. You know what I'm saying? Get it together. You know what I mean? Where do you, how do you get yourself out of that space?
That's tough, man. That is a phenomenal question because I struggle with that mightily, right? I know I want to be positive. I know I want to impact people in a positive way. I know I want to help people make positive changes in their lives. But to tell you that I don't get petty at times, to tell you that I don't get frustrated at times, to tell you that I don't want to clap back sometimes, like I'd be lying to you. I struggle with that daily, right? Make no mistake, in this space that we navigate in, right? The space of investing ourselves in others. There's a lot of people in this space, a lot of people that we know in this space, right? And don't think that it goes behind people or that it goes over their head that I'm scrolling through and I'm just like, cool, we in the same space. I get it, but we're not competition. Why ain't you liking some of my stuff? I always be out there liking your stuff and sharing your stuff. Why can't I get that same, right? So that pettiness starts to build up. You alluded to it earlier, right? You give and give and give in a relationship and you're doing it out of guilt. And what happens when you don't get that in return is you start to become bitter. So then you start changing who you are. Right. And then once you become at disagreement with yourself, you've already lost. So when I feel the bitterness and the pettiness and all this other stuff start rising up, I remember who I am at my core. And it's not for me to judge. It's not for me to tell you how to reciprocate this relationship. It's not for me to do any of that. It's for me to set my standards, right? Know who I want to be as a person and make sure I meet my expectations. So I talk myself off the ledge constantly. And it is a daily struggle. I struggle with really two things more than anything else. Number one being self-doubt, not thinking I'm good enough for whatever it is I'm trying to do in this space. And number two, the pettiness of, oh, well, why this and why that? And really, that's just a matter of me just having to humble myself. Like, dude, who do you think you are? Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you this. You keep being the person that you want to be, So the quickest way to get my mind out of it is I ask myself a question, right? If I feel my emotions start to go up, I'll say, what does the person you want to become, how would they react in this situation? And I think about the person I want to eventually one day become, and I say, how would they react in this situation? And I react in kind.
Interesting. And while you were talking, I was thinking about what do I do in those situations of feeling like you just want to go there and just like, you know what, you're about to get a piece of my mind, like, you know what I mean? And something obviously prevents me from doing that.
Yes.
Which is ultimately just without asking what type of person I want to be. It's the person that I am knows that that's not what I want to represent. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, it's a reflex to stop myself from doing that.
Yep.
And then it's the mental aspect of like, I'm almost damn near walking myself through the situation as if it already happened. Where like, what is exactly am I looking to gain from this? Like, what do I lose? What is ultimately the end result? And most of the time it's just self-satisfaction. You know what I mean? Or it's just like, I just need to get this off my chest right now. And honestly, there is none. So yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where just having a internal conversation with yourself mentally and just kind of almost just like a debate, almost like a debate of saying, hey, you know what, this is a situation that you probably should walk away from. Or this is a conversation or potential reaction that you probably can just go ahead and let it ride. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, it's not gonna feel as great after you've done something like that, which 99% of the time it doesn't. And so then there's guilt, and then there's the other emotions that come with it. And I'm just like, it's just too much. It's just too much. So
it just takes emotional maturity. That's all, right? It just takes emotional maturity. Like clapping back at somebody or saying some slick stuff to somebody may give you that temporary satisfaction. Like, yeah, I showed them. But in the long run, you can be like, dude, I'm better than that. Like, what am I doing? I'm that comment or remark or post was exactly the person that I'm trying to push against, right? Was exactly the person that I'm trying to start minimizing, their voice, because we don't want to share that, right? Perfect example. We talked about the inner circle, right? We got the Nisleys that are chiming in and leaving comments on this right now. This is my crew, right? These two right here are like, when you talk about that inner circle and people supporting each other, right? Kathy's, she's getting ready to come out with a book. It's called Walk Through Hell. She does stuff online, and it doesn't even matter if I engage. You know what I'll do? I'll get on my phone, I'll open it up, and I'll just support. I'll support her, what she's doing, her cause, her sharing her story, because there's tons of people out there. Her husband, JJ, like, that's my guy. Like, that's my dude. Like, he's my confidant. He'll be the one to punch me in the throat if I'm getting crazy.
All right.
Yeah, seriously. Like, same with you, right? Yeah. You're doing all these interviews and stuff with phenomenal people who have phenomenal stories. Yeah, it's real easy for me to sit out there and like that and share it and give it a comment like, dude, this was good, this was impactful. It takes 2 seconds to support somebody else. That's all it takes.
True story.
And yeah, why we get so wrapped around our own egos saying, oh, well, me. So when I start falling down that trap, I remember my inner circle, I remember the support, and I remember all the phenomenal people out there doing phenomenal things that probably need the same encouragement that I'm looking for.
Shout out to the Nisleys. They sound like great.
Oh, that's my crew.
All right, now shout out to the crew. I have a crew too, Coalition. Shout out to them. They're awesome. But man, I definitely I mean, I guess for me, I just wish there was a way to if people could just limit the interaction and negative, like just be able to know that they're ultimately in control of the energy that they give out and that they receive. Like you don't have to respond to this comment. You don't have to watch certain things on television. You don't have to read certain books. You don't have to respond to certain people. You don't have to, hear certain things. It is ultimately like we are so in control of our own bodies that sometimes we forget about that.
Yeah.
And so like, I know for me, I'm just like, look, sometimes social media, I'm gonna close it down. I cannot not receive that content right now.
Yes.
Or, watching the news, I can't receive that information right now. It's depressing. I cannot deal with it. Let me replace it with something else that I maybe could be doing, and granted, it's the kumbaya again, journaling, meditating, whatever else. But there are it's just other opportunities to feel good, or at least like be able to bring that good stuff into you. And you know what else it takes? It exercises this right here.
Yep.
Because I'm telling you, like, it was definitely some points where the conversations get to be so exhausting that it's just like, man, I just need to lay down. I just need to lay down. And same with, you work and then you need time to detach. So what do you do to decompress?
So same as you, right? I shut everything off. There are certain things, and it's not that I'm ignoring it. It's just that I'm mentally not at a place where I can take that all in right now. So I am very strategic at what I get after, right? Because I don't have the mental capacity to take on everything.
Yeah.
I just don't. So what I do is I'm very strategic with what I take on. And yes, like we talked about with our little pre-com check, sometimes we still take on too much.
Yeah.
Sure. But I detach for as long as I need to be to get myself back whole. I surround myself with that inner circle that we just talked about, so we can pull energy from each other and champion each other and pick each other up and help each other out and, do the little things that really mean the most in life. Those are the things that I do. One of the best habits I've learned, which I think a lot of people, and you just alluded to it, you don't have to comment on that. You don't have to make a remark about that. One of the best habits I've learned is this movement right here. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling. The peace of mind with some of the people that are listening to this right now that feel like they got to comment on everything. And dude, I'm telling you, you're messing with yourself mentally. Sometimes it's just keep scrolling. Yeah. Keep scrolling. Like Facebook has this awesome things where I can snooze somebody for 30 days. Like if I'm just like, yeah, dude, I'm telling you, right? It's just, that's what I do to protect my own mental well-being and my own inner peace. Right. It's not ignoring situations. It's not pushing things off, but I focus on what I can focus on. But if I spread myself so thin amongst the gambit of negativity that's constantly shoved in our faces, I'm not really improving on any of them.
Right. Absolutely. I have to, just like an on and on switch, just like the key in the ignition, turning it off, starting it, whatever. But it is almost like it sucks you in. It sucks you into that and I'm I went down the rabbit hole too. And when they always like, don't read the comments, you read the comments. You know what I mean? Yeah. They tell you not to read it. You go read the comments anyway. You're like, oh, this is a horrible place to be.
Yeah, right. And and they say, misery loves company. I don't know if I agree with that in a sense. I've never really gave that cliche a lot of thought, but I will say that people don't like to be alone. And there's a big difference between alone and loneliness, right? You can feel loneliness if you're in a room of crowded people, right? You can be alone and be perfectly content. but I don't think people like to feel the loneliness or feel like they're the only one. So what happens is again, a lot of the negativity that people display is just a projection of what they're dealing with.
Right.
So if somebody is upset about something, well, I'm upset, so I want somebody else to be upset because I don't want to be alone in this. And that's where the comments and stuff will come. And that's how the negativity spreads. And what we need to do is, it's just like breaking a family cycle, right? If you have a family cycle of, let's just say, alcoholism, sooner or later, somebody's going to have to break that cycle in order for the family to heal, right? In order for the generations to come to heal.
Right.
It's no different with the negativity cycle. Sooner or later, somebody is going to have to break this cycle, or it's going to continue to fester and continue to grow.
Right.
All I'm trying to do with the whole raise your damn voice thing is, I promise you, there are more positive people out here that see things for the possibilities. I just need them to raise their voices just a little bit, because I promise you, we outnumber all these negative folks. We do.
Sure. And you know what? And there's maybe a chance to change some minds.
Yeah.
To frame things, to see, to quote unquote infect people with this type of perspective. Versus, all you see is the algorithm of, and Facebook and Google and all them listening to everything you say. So it's like as soon as you look at one, you're seeing 400 posts of the same stuff. You're just like, whoa, I didn't even know this was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's the hope. We'll see how things go, but yeah, I mean this was great. This was great conversation. And ultimately it was just a dynamic of just figuring out like where our space was, like where our limitations are, like where the line is, like drawing the line, like protecting your peace, protecting your energy, like to make sure that you don't continue to consume the things that ultimately make you feel like miserable, like a bad person. And then, like with mental health, I know with my anxiety, it's a lot of, what ifs. Like my mind is already creating situations that will probably never happen. But because, that's just the way my brain is now, it's like, well, I'm already giving myself that type of anxiety. What do I need to add to it? So do you have any comments or any closing remarks for our people before we sign off?
Yeah. Honestly, what it really boils down to is putting things into perspective. When we talk about, we talked about a little bit prior to the my and the, right? So my truth. Well, yeah, it is your truth, but that doesn't necessarily make it the truth. Or my world. Well, yeah, it is your world, but it doesn't necessarily make it the world, right? We need to take those things and combine them together. I'm not asking people to go out there and blindly think that, everything is sunshine and rainbows and everything is perfect and we're great and we're doing all this. No, what I'm asking you to do is put on the lens of, I've had some trials, I've had some tribulations, I've had some trauma, I've faced some difficulties, but that's not who I am. It's helped shape who I am, but the possibilities for me to impact others in a positive way should honestly reign supreme over all that. The vulnerability, the sharing of the stories, taking your lessons learned and impacting others. That's the positivity lens that I want people to take some of the trauma that they've been through and push it forward, right? As the old cliche goes, you're never as happy as you will be when you take the time to make somebody else happy. And that is a level of happiness that I don't think a lot of us strive to attain, that maybe we should. Get out of the egotistical, I live in a silo mindset and say, there's a whole world out here and a whole bunch of people that I could be positively impacting. How can I do that? What ways can I do that? That's the positive vibes only. And if you feel yourself constantly being weighed down, take a good, hard look at who you surround yourself with and see if they are those champions, those cheerleaders, those encouragers, those supporters. And if you don't have those people in your corner, you need to start finding them, because you damn sure deserve it.
Right on. I love it. And I'll say this for my perspective, is that, I think somebody told me that always said PYP, protect your peace, always. And I never made sense to me because I was very much, I'm still working on it, but I was like, give so much. I don't want to disappoint people. I want to be reliable. I want to be this. I want to be that. Like, I just want to be a reference. I want to be true to myself and know that people can count on. Well, guess what? Everybody, once they know they can count on you, they'll count on you, and then you won't have any energy left for yourself, right? And so ultimately, you fall down this rabbit hole and you find yourself exhausted, miserable, all that other stuff. And so, I ultimately found myself like, what is my identity? Who am I truly? To be authentic to myself means, yes, I can be reliable, but I also can be someone that says no sometimes. I also can be someone that says, you know what, maybe another time, or give somebody else that opportunity to do it. But it doesn't make me a bad person just because I decided to protect my peace for that day, for that week, for that weekend. And so, challenging folks, protect your peace. That's what positive vibes is about. Keep the good energy in, push the good energy out, keep the bad energy out. Okay. And you know what? We're gonna raise our voices to this damn energy, right?
Get it up. Get it
All right
up.
now.
But it is, look, break the cycle. Like
Hey.
somebody got to do it.
All right, right on, right on. I want to thank Lynwood for coming on with me today. This was great. I appreciate you as always, sir. Catalyst of Professional Development. That is his page. Also whiteboard creator. So I think I seen an old one still floating around that people are still sharing. So this man is famous in the social media streets, and but good, but positive vibes. Okay, so that means we're getting somewhere. We're hitting these corners. And then of course to AFWO family, Air Force Wingman Outreach at gmail.com is the email that you can reach out to. There's also the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 160 crisis centers available to you. 1-800-273-8255 is the line that you can go to if you need help 24/7, 365 days a year. And with that, I appreciate the time, and we are out of here, AFWO. Have a good day.